doing a Trump watch bit ever since he was elected president. First and foremost, he keeps saying that he has a mandate. There is no mandate. He's just dropped below 50% of the popular vote. The difference between his vote total and Vice President Harris's total at this point is only like about 2 million votes. Biden had much more of the popular vote. Overall, he had 81 million, first of all, and second of all, the difference between Biden and Trump's total in 2000 was much greater than the difference between, you know, the total between Trump and Harris. If anybody had a mandate, it would first of all be Barack Obama, and of course, hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite because they never claimed that Obama had a mandate to do whatever it is, even though he had more than double the amount of electoral college votes than John McCain did in 2008. And they immediately, before he even took the oath of office, they were working on plans on trying to prevent everything that he wanted to do. And he had to have 60 votes in the Senate to be able to get his major things passed. And he only had 60 votes in the Senate for a very short amount of time, even a shorter amount of time if you consider days off, and only looked at the days that they had in the Senate to work. If you want to talk about, Ronald Reagan absolutely had a mandate. I mean, what, he won 49 states. If Donald Trump had won 49 states, sure, I at that point would be able to say it sucks, but he has a mandate to do whatever it is. American people voted and they chose and they gave him 49 states. No, Donald Trump doesn't have a mandate whatsoever in this election. Donald Trump, Biden had a much bigger mandate. He had fewer electoral college votes, but he still had more of the popular vote. Again. But they didn't say Biden had a mandate. So if they're not going to admit that Biden had a mandate, if they're not going to admit that Obama had a mandate, there is no way in hell that Donald Trump currently has a mandate. Fair? I mean, I think that's a fair statement. But then again, what do I know? There's also interesting things that are in the conversation of Donald Trump's presidency. They were like, at some point, Donald Trump or these senators were winning this race and they lost, or at some whatever, like as proof that somehow because you're leading at some point in the night, that means, and then you lose that lead, it means the election was stolen from you. So I could simply make the same sort of comment. Harris clearly was ahead at some point in Pennsylvania. She clearly was ahead at some point in Wisconsin. She clearly was ahead at some point in Michigan. But guess what? She lost that lead. If I would use Republican conservative MAGA logic, that I could then say, oh, Harris had the presidency stolen from her. Because it's the same logic that they use, right? But again, they won't use it. They don't agree with it because hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite, especially if you're an elected official. But there are people who are not elected officials who are out there trying to claim that Donald Trump has a mandate, but will never admit that Obama had one, that Biden had one, etc., etc. But let's talk about some of the people that he's picked, shall we? I walked in from letting my dogs out. And I was letting my dogs out, letting them frolic, whatever. I came back in, looked at the TV, and the TV said, Donald Trump picks Dr. Oz to be in charge of Medicare and Medicaid. What? I mean, I don't know if that's more ridiculous or less ridiculous than Matt Gaetz. I mean, I think Matt Gaetz is clearly ridiculous. Putting the vaccine denier and vaccine hoax person, RFK Jr., who said anti-Semitic things about Jewish people, how the virus was created to not target us as Jewish people. Clearly an anti-Semitic statement. We've talked about that on the show before. Again, that's clearly a horrible pick. Tulsi Gabbard, a Russian tool, a Russian hack, who went and visited Syria, without permission, to go have a little, tete-a-tete or whatever. Horrible pick. Dr. Oz? I mean, how many, diet pill scams does Dr. Oz have to sell before people not take him seriously? right? I mean, I know he liked Dr. Oz when he ran for the Senate and lost, but, you know, the idea that he picked Dr. Oz to run these two vital things, Medicare and Medicaid, should scare the ever-living crap out of anybody who's currently on Medicare and Medicaid. Because what the hell is he going to do? What experience does he have in that particular area? I mean, yeah, he's Dr. Oz, but that doesn't mean you're qualified to run Medicare and Medicaid. You should have some experience like running like insurance companies and stuff like that. I mean, not to say that people who run insurance companies are good, but you should at least have some familiarity with insurance above and beyond accepting it as a doctor. Right? So again, another terrible pick by Donald Trump. Also, Linda McMahon, wife of former CEO and owner of WWE, formerly WWF, formerly WWF, that he I guess bought or whatever from his dad. Linda McMahon as the pick for being in charge of Department of Education. Now, you might look on paper and say, oh, she did serve, I think, on the Connecticut Board of Education. But that's just like saying, and that maybe gives her a little bit more credence than maybe Dr. Oz has for running Medicare and Medicaid. But there's a group out there that has basically said that she lied about her degree, that when she got onto this Connecticut Board of Education board that she's on, or she was on, I don't know if she still is, that she said that she had a degree in education when I think her degree is in like a foreign language, maybe French or something like that. So what, are we going to turn wrestling, and are we going to turn schools into wrestling rings now? I mean, I enjoy watching wrestling. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. I freely admit it. On my nerdydan.com channel, I have wrestling prediction videos, and in a lot of those wrestling prediction videos, I was spot on accurate. Like, WWE has this event called the Royal Rumble, where you have a battle royal of 30 people, sometimes more, and the winner of the battle royal gets to go wrestle the champion of their choice at WrestleMania. So winning the Royal Rumble is a big deal. One year, I picked two people who were not even announced to win the men's and the women's Royal Rumble, and I was right on both of them. So, and I have a cousin who has a very good connection in the wrestling industry. If you know who Bill Apter is, Bill Apter is very well known in wrestling circles. He's my cousin, and we've talked wrestling from time to time. He's hosted some of my videos on his channel as well. I guess before he got hired by Sportskeeda or whatever. But anyway, I'm a fan of wrestling. But I guess we shouldn't be surprised because we elected somebody president who shaved Vince McMahon's head in the middle of a wrestling ring. So now we're going to have somebody who got stunned by Stone Cold Steve Austin in the middle of a wrestling ring too. Somebody who was pretending to be in a wheelchair and catatonic for weeks or months or whatever as part of a storyline, as Vince McMahon cheated on her in the storyline. Well, we may very well now know that Vince McMahon probably cheated on her in real life too, and there's other horrible things that Vince McMahon and others in the WWE or formerly of the WWE have been investigated for doing, i.e., sex trafficking. So I don't know if there's any evidence showing that Linda McMahon cooperated and took part in any of the alleged sex trafficking that went on within the WWE. I don't know that. But she was very close to it because she's married to the guy who's alleged to have participated in said sex trafficking as part of the WWE. Is the Donald Trump administration going to be called Sex Traffickers Anonymous? Or Sexual Assault? The Sexual Assault Corps? Are they going to come up with a cool wrestling nickname for the wrestling faction of all the people in the Trump administration who have been accused of either participating in sex trafficking and or who have violated the consent of other people. I mean, last show, on Monday's show, we already talked about the allegations against Robert F. Kennedy Jr. We've already talked about the allegations against, I can't even remember how to, whatever, the guy who's running Secretary, the guy who's going to be Secretary of Defense if Trump gets his way. Again, Heckseth or whatever his name is, with the Jerusalem cross tattoo on his chest. You have Matt Gaetz, who there's testimony, again, that he paid for sex with minors via Venmo, and apparently, according to one of the listeners on Twitch, they said that he was actually using Porn Nestor's account to be able to fund these transactions. But again, Speaker Johnson is protecting the Matt Gaetz from these allegations because he's trying to fight the release of those documents to the Senate committee and or publicly, although apparently some of them, if not all of them, have been hacked but not yet released, which is definitely something pretty interesting. If it does get hacked and released, we'll definitely, if we actually get to see the full documents, we'll definitely cover that as on one of the shows. So, Hulk Hogan and Alex Jones for Department of Supplements. Yeah, I mean, what's the next person going to be? Like, is Dr. Phil going to be like the Secretary of HUD or something? What's Hulk Hogan going to be now? Is Hulk Hogan going to be in charge of the presidential whatever fitness, even though he was alleged to have taken steroids or whatever? Who else is going to come around and be nominated? It's a cast of clowns. It's a confederacy of dunces. It's so many people who are not qualified to be in this position. And we'll have plenty of other days where we will absolutely talk about more Trump appointments because there's more coming down the line. I'm probably missing something. Donald Trump appointments. But anyway, we'll look at that in a second. But anyway, I'm recording this video, so I'm going to cut this part out of it when I post it later. But what do you think about Donald Trump's appointments or suggestion that we have Mehmet Oz or Linda McMahon or his other appointments to his cabinet, administration, etc.? Do you agree with my points? Do you disagree? Leave your comments down below. Remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and of course, as always, have a good day.